I reject your countdown and substitute my own.
How do I get myself into these messes? Yeah, just because I love Mega Man to death, that doesn't mean it's without its flaws. And just because I love the Robot Masters, that doesn't mean I love all of them. After all, for all the Robot Masters that are totally awesome, there are plenty of Robot Masters that are absolute fail. So I'd say it's time I ripped into the ones I hate the most. Whether their stage sucks, their design sucks, their fight sucks, their weapon sucks, or all of the above, nothing is getting overlooked. And one more thing I need to address. If you happen to like any of the Robot Masters I put on here, please do not take it personally. I am not insulting you, just the Robot Masters. Of course, I'm preparing for plenty of hate comments anyway. So get ready because it's game time! It's always the cute ones, isn't it? True, Dynamo Man doesn't seem like such a bad Robot Master at first. He does have a cool design, and his weapon, the Lightning Bolt, is actually really powerful and useful. His level is also fun to play through, albeit time-consuming, featuring gimmicks like accelerating conveyor belts, exploding blocks, dark rooms with beacons, and a mini-boss that takes longer than it should. So, why is he on the list then? Simple. His boss fight! His attacks consist of electric walls, an arc of static orbs that home in on you, or lightning bolts that are hard to dodge because their locations are never telegraphed. Oh, but that's not the worst of it. It's that freaking recharger of his! Seriously, whenever he gets to below half health, there's always a chance that he'll hop right in and start recharging health until it's destroyed. When I think of Dynamo Man, I keep getting flashbacks of that damn recharger. And as you can imagine, that really pisses me off. Alright, I almost got you. Oh, for crying out loud! Okay, you know what makes me sick? People ripping on Sheet Man for his designs when worse ones exist in the same game. I mean, look at Pump Man. Seriously, do I even need to say how stupid this guy looks? He's based on a freaking water pump. Not only that, but his stage is also a pain. Once again, combining death spikes and water physics. The most dangerous combination in video games. Along with a few other annoyances like water currents, bubbles, and waterfalls that hinder your jumping. His fight is also predictable as heck, with him throwing out his shield in the middle of his jump. The only thing that really redeems this guy is his weapon. The water shield is actually one of the few shield-type weapons that I can actually use regularly. It's actually come in handy quite a bit through Solar Man stage. Everything else about Pump Man, however, is the kind of stuff that gets flushed into his sewer. So people, apologize to Sheet Man. Please? Some people say that Flash Man from Mega Man 2 is the easiest Robot Master in the series. Those people clearly haven't played Mega Man 4. You know where I'm going with this. To be honest, Toadman does get some points for looking appropriate, but you can't deny that his stage is harder than he is. I mean, it's got obstacles like rain, waterfall currents, and snails that shoot bombs from under their backs and launch their eyes at you. How they do that, I'll never know. So why in the fresh hell did the fight with him have to suck? Okay, let me dissect this boss fight for you. Toadman's only attack is the Rain Flush, but as long as you keep attacking him, he'll never use it. He'll just hop around like a moron as his health bar depletes. He'll croak in no time. At least with Flash Man, you needed the Metal Blades to defeat him without moving. Toadman, on the other hand, can be beaten in seconds with uncharged Buster Shots. At least the Rain Flush is an effective weapon, but that doesn't make up for such a pathetic boss fight. Toadman, why don't you go find some French restaurant to hang out in and leave us challenge lovers alone?
You know, I think Bass himself said it best.
You'd think an evil genius would have thought about making an inescapable room full of instant death spikes way before he made a Spring Man.
Spring Man is probably the one Robot Master in Mega Man 7 that legitimately indicates that Capcom ran out of ideas for that game. I mean, his body looks so unstable that it could topple over at any moment. God forbid he come across stairs. Also, while his stage does fit his gimmick being overloaded with springs, there's one huge problem. Everything is either pink or pastel colors. If you want to intimidate a blue robot who's coming for your head, pink is not the color to go with. Also, his fight is way too simple. His pattern is predictable, and his attacks are cake to avoid. You can just slide under his punches and slide under his springs. It's even more pathetic if you have the Slash Claw because it'll break him right out of his loop and start his pattern all over again. And what do you get out of this? A spring weapon. Yes, the Wild Coil can be charged to boost its height, but it's still a children's toy. Like I said, not threatening. Maybe Wily has gone senile after all these years. With Top Man, you just have to ask, what's the point? Why were you created? What purpose could you possibly serve? True, his stage was well designed and had a few good gimmicks, but nothing else about him works. First of all, he has an extremely predictable boss fight. All you need to do is shoot him or bash him with the hard knuckle, dodge his tops, then jump over him when he charges. Once again, the knuckle, the dodging, the jumping. Once again, the knuckle, the dodging, the jumping. Once again, okay, you get the idea. But the worst part about Top Man is his weapon is extremely awkward. The top spin can only be used in the air, and the amount of weapon energy it uses is inconsistent unless you're good with it. Not to mention, it just looks silly. Mega Man doing ballet? No, that doesn't work. Also, Top Man's design is just stupid. I mean, besides having a derp face, he's based on a top. What could that ever accomplish? Wasn't the point of Wily creating or reprogramming Robot Masters to help him conquer the planet? I mean, look at other Robot Masters in the game. Then look at Top Man. See the comparison? Alright, Mega Man 5. We're on a train, shooting down baddies, fighting Meteor trains, dropping into boxcars, going through a cool stage. This Robot Master ought to be fun. Oh wait, this is Charge Man we're talking about. Yeah, his stage is kinda cool, but this guy looks like the pissed-off cousin of the Phantom Train from Final Fantasy VI. Why make a Robot Master based on a train? It just baffles me. Also, his fight is a serious pain in the ass. Charge Man is invincible for most of the fight, his Colts drop in seemingly random locations, and he can only be hit when he's either standing still or when he's walking. It also doesn't help that his weakness is the incredibly awkward non-Dreamcast fighting game Power Stone. But that's not the worst part. That would be the weapon you get from him. It's just a weaponized version of your slide move, it can only be used on enemies on the ground, and half the time, it doesn't even work. Yeah, Charge Man is just a waste, and it isn't worth the coal he burns. This is one Robot Master that never should have left the station.
I'm Clown Man.
Yep, we know. And you're also not on the list. You see, Clown Man had a fun fight and a useful weapon, and the idea of him being a pedophile is a huge misconception. Aquaman, on the other hand, surprises me as to how he got into the game without DC suing Capcom for trademark infringement. Their Aquaman looked cool and had the power to command whales and sharks. This Aquaman, on the other hand, looks like a complete derp. I mean, he was built from a failed prototype of Frostman, but he looks like a chubby moron. And let's not forget his annoying water level. You see, in Mega Man 8, the Blue Bomber was given the ability to swim. This would be a good thing. Except that swimming in this game is incredibly awkward because you can't tread water. Add death spikes, cheaply placed enemies, and a mini-boss that takes way too long to kill, and you have a stage that drove even Roa Mithril crazy. Then there's his boss fight, which can be annoying not because of the water balloons or giant water column, but Aquaman's water cannon, which changes direction at random and sometimes leaves you with no chance to avoid taking a hit. At least his weapon is somewhat useful, even if it is based on a staple of summer birthday parties. But still, this boss is a total joke, even compared to Clown Man.
And given Clown Man's reputation, that's saying a lot.
Mega Man Powered Up was an interesting way to update the original for modern audiences. Like I said before, all the characters in the game got a chibi redesign. Not only that, but 2 new Robot Masters were introduced as well. Time Man was pretty cool. He had a neat fight, his design was original, and his weapon is useful. Then there's Oil Man. If there's one word to describe this guy, it's annoying! For starters, his stage is rather boring, except for the freaking oil. If you try to walk on it, even the slightest bit, you'll end up falling on your blue butt more times than an Animaniacs cartoon. Worse yet, it can be set on fire, potentially causing damage. Oil Man's personality can also be irritating, because he's such a fast-talking show-off. Fight's not too bad, just avoiding oil blobs and jumping over his slide attack. But his weapon is incredibly unwieldy. The oil slider fires a blob of oil that deals little damage. If you want to do some real damage with it, you need to, get this, slide over it and tackle enemies. Seriously, are you trying to get yourself hurt? And now to the biggest reason I hate Oil Man. The controversy surrounding him. His Japanese model has black skin and peach-colored lips, features attributed to blackface, and therefore racist. As a result, he got recolored for the American version with dark blue skin and yellow lips. This wouldn't have happened, however, if Capcom had thought its stereotypes through. Seriously, how ignorant can you get? Maybe I spoke too soon. With Mega Man 6, you had a world tour of Robot Masters. America, England, Greece, Japan. But why did Brazil have to be represented by this? Plant Man is pretty much scraping the bottom of the barrel here. I mean, come on, he's a flower! In all seriousness, the only flowers that look intimidating are found in Mario games and sci-fi horror flicks. Not only that, but his fight is so predictable that even Glass Joe could beat this guy in a fight. No kidding. First he puts up his barrier, then he jumps, then he throws the barrier, then he charges you. Barrier, jump, throw, charge, rinse, and repeat. What's more, Plant Man has an arm cannon on his right arm, but he never uses it. Why have it if it's not going to be used? And to add insult to injury, the weapon you get, the Plant Barrier, has low offensive power, crumbles faster than the Vikings' defensive line, and besides, it's another useless shield weapon! The only shields I've ever found consistent use for are the Jewel Satellite for Mega Man 9, the Junk Shield for Mega Man 7, and the previously mentioned Water Shield. Every other weapon that primarily uses a shield is all but useless! So all things considered, Plant Man is absolutely horrible. His design is stupid, his fight is predictable, and his weapon is absolute crap. The only thing keeping him at number 2 is the fact that his stage is pretty cool. Number 1, on the other hand, is absolutely indefensible. So who could it be? Let's just get this over with. Remember when I talked about the Game Boy games and how awesome their unique bosses were? Well, there's always an exception. And in this case, the second Game Boy game is that exception. It was co-developed by another developer than the other 4, and a developer who knew nothing about Mega Man for that matter. And not only does the gameplay feel off, but the story is stupid. Long story short, Wily steals a time machine, travels into the future, and learns that his future self has given up, and that Mega Man has returned to his original purpose as Lab Assistant Rock. So the Wily of the past captures the now defenseless Rock and reprograms him for battle. Ooh, this sounds like it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to— It's a guy on a pogo stick. A guy on a fucking pogo stick.
Okay, Capcom, what the fuck?
Look, you've pulled some pretty lame stunts, but this is just mortifying! Every other Robot Master on this list had at least one redeeming quality. Quint has absolutely nothing going for him. First off, his design is incredibly lazy. They just took Mega Man's design, painted it green, and gave him a cheap ripoff of Kamina's glasses. Second, the fight is absolutely effortless. All he does is jump around on his jackhammer pogo stick hybrid and produce rocks that have embarrassingly short range and are cake to avoid. If you even take one hit from him, then you seriously need to rethink your training. And the music. The fucking music! It's absolutely assault on the ears, and it isn't even a boss theme. He doesn't even get a health bar, he's so pathetic. Worse yet, you don't even get the satisfaction of destroying him! He just runs away like a coward. And you know what? His weapon is the worst ever! It's just his pogo stick, which can damage enemies, sure, but if they don't go down in one hit, you take damage in the process! So not only is it useless, it's hazardous to your health! And keep in mind, people, this is supposed to be Mega Man from the future, which means Quint can't even kill Mega Man because he'd be killing his own past self, causing a time paradox! Wily, you idiot! Why don't you think all your plans through? It also aggravates me to no end that he was given a rematch in the 5th game alongside Anchor, Punk, and the epicness that is Blade. There is nothing good about Quint. His design sucks, his concept sucks, his fight sucks, and his weapon sucks. And to those of you who say he's not a Robot Master, well, he's a boss and he's in the field guide. So I have every right and obligation to officially declare Quint the worst Robot Master ever.
I'm the quarter guy, and if I hear one single punk-ass reviewer try to defend this abomination unto the great Inafune Sensei, I will fight you on the side of the street!
I like trains.